So for a user of your database to be able to actually work with this view, the table view, it's not very convenient. So the next thing we're going to look at is creating that interface that comes between the user and the database. If you want to think about it, this is like the stuff that's sort of the workings, the inner workings of the database. And we really don't want our users in there fiddling around with things and maybe breaking stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an interface that comes between them and this system. And that is a series of linked up forms. Okay, so we're going to create a form for the students, and you're going to do this on your own as well, and that's easily done. Create and then form. Okay, now what this is doing is it's created this form that lets you see that table record by record, but it's not a very sort of it's not a very nicely laid out form when we just do the defaults. For example, the record selectors are right down here. That's how we go through each different form, but if each different record. But if we wanted to get to a new one, we have to find this tiny little thing here and click on that to be able to enter in a new record into the database. So that's not a very good interface because it doesn't really make it simple for somebody to use. So you got to keep that in your head the whole time. What you're trying to do with an interface is to make it simple for your user. Okay, the other thing is it's also got some of the naming wrong and so other things like that. So we're going to edit this form after we've made it, and to do that, you just need to change the view to design view as always. So first thing we can do is we can change the title. Okay, and then we can look through these things, and these you should be familiar with these kind of property sheets now. Now you're looking through them, you can see how these boxes have a bunch of different properties. So these are text boxes, and these are linked up things. These are the text boxes. Sorry, these are labels. Yeah, and these are the text boxes. These are linked up to sources of data within the database. So you can decide what you want to do with these, change them, and do things like that. I want you to explore as well some of the things like the background colors and other design elements that you can play around with. All that stuff's up here. I'll let you play around with that. I want to show you specifically putting in some navigation buttons. Now you can put them anywhere, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them into the footer here of the form. Okay, so I've just pulled out the footer there, and then I go up to my tools here, and this one is a button. Okay, now buttons are great because they're going to make it so that I can really design a clickable interface for my user. So I'm going to make a button here. The wizard pops up, and I'm going to do some record operations. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is record operations, add new record. I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to decide to have a label on here, but it's not going to say add record because I don't know if my user understands that terminology. So I'm going to say add student. Okay, next I'm just going to leave it as the default name here. And there we go. So that's now my add student button. Let's just see that working. So I switch over to my form view, and there it is, my add student button. So if I click on that, it takes me to a new record, and I can enter that in. Let me just show you that record working. Okay, so I'm going to put in my forename. Okay, I'll fill that in. Okay, so there you go, I've filled in my record. Yeah, now let's just have a look at where that's gone. So I'm going to now switch back to my table. Okay, and I'm going to just close this table, and then we'll open it up again, and you'll see that this is that new record that I've added. Okay, so just let that sink in for a moment. What I've done is I've used a form to let the user enter data into a table in an easy to understand way. That's a powerful thing. Okay, so what you need to do now, I've got two things called TBL student, so that's a bit of a mess. Let's save that. Okay, so we're going to save it as FRM student. If I spell it right, there we go. So now we've got that name named as a form. So I've just quickly shown you some very basic stuff with buttons there, just putting them in. I want you to explore what those buttons can do. Okay, if you click on your button, explore some of these different things that the buttons are able to do. And what I want you to explore as well is I want you to explore the properties of a form. So if I click on this corner here, I go to Form Properties. Have a look through some of these and see if there's anything that you could do or change in there to simplify this for your user. Okay, so your task is to create a form to enter and view student data and to make it as easy to use, as simple, as well laid out as possible.